Welcome to A Thoughts Journey. My name is Farron, and I'm here to help you discover how to live the life you want to live. Whether it be gardening and preserving food, business, or your life, I offer simple strategies and quality homemade products to help you thrive. Welcome back to A Thoughts Journey. I'm so happy you decided to join me today. Today we're going to be talking about why the imaginary arguments in your head are good. Last week we talked about finding people in your niche for your blog, saying that you are your target audience, understanding the who, what, why of your blog piece, and where to start finding the people in your niche. Today, we're going to transition out of blogging and we're going to talk more about you. As you know, every month we have a new subject, we have a new plan. So this month's class was on blogging. Next month, we're going to talk about gardening and all that good stuff. But today, I really wanted to talk about you. Why the imaginary arguments in your head are good. The reason being is recently my team watched a motivational video on stopping those arguments in your head. That constant chatter that you don't say out loud, but it's just like how you imagine the argument is going to go, how you imagine if you said what you really wanted to say, all the different possibilities that just wage war in your head. And the speaker was basically saying how they were bad and how the way to stop it is to go directly to that person and to stop the conversation from there. I disagreed because I saw how my team reacted to it. Their reaction to that was, we're going to stop talking about the things that we have issues with, and we're going to say them directly to that person. And, this, what I call toxic positivity. I know that's kind of a buzzword lately, but I understand from having an abusive past that one, you cannot talk to everybody like that. You just can't do that. And two, that train of thinking doesn't stop those arguments. They actually make them get worse over the years, and they compound because you're not listening to the need that's being expressed. And so really, I'm going to walk you through what that looks like, some alternative ways to handling that. And I really want you to understand that the imaginary arguments in your head are useful. They are good. They are not fundamentally bad. You just need to understand them. So, for those of us who've been in abusive situations, we know that it is difficult to even know what you're feeling. I know for me, it was hard for a while. Once I got out of that or was starting to get out of that situation, my therapist was like, girl, you are numb. Like, you don't even know if you're having a good day, a bad day, if you're happy or sad. So it's hard to know what you're feeling, let alone communicating it was a whole nother thing. So it's difficult to communicate your thoughts. It's difficult to understand what you're even feeling. And the reason is because in your situation, they're dismissed, and voicing them causes further problem. So you can't know. It's discouraged in that environment to even begin to dig that deep. So I also know that this encourages you to feel guilty or to start ignoring your feelings in the first place. And so for us, especially, those imaginary arguments are raging because you can't even express what you want to say on a normal day. So for you and for everyone else, I want you to let the argument play out. And that sounds counterproductive, right? It's like we should not be having these thoughts. We need to think positively. We need to not gossip to people, all these different things. But hear me out. Let them play out. They're trying to tell you something. They're trying to help you understand what you're really feeling. So let them play out and try to understand what made you upset about that situation. For me, those arguments happened when I was particularly angry. So I couldn't tell you why, but listening to that, and as I'm fake explaining to the person in my head why I'm angry, I go, oh, that's why I'm mad. That's why I'm upset. That's why I'm sad. That's why I feel hurt. That's all those things. So to do that, I came up with a few questions for you to ask yourself. Why am I responding the way I am? What is this really about? Is this about the thing that upset me, or is this about something else? Be curious. It's all right if it takes a while. For me, it took some practice. It takes practice, y'all, getting to know what you feel, especially if you came from an abusive situation. So take it easy on yourself. Take some time. Journaling really helps. Journaling those little feelings that feel so dumb to write out really helps you in the real world identify in real time what you're feeling as you're feeling it. But you do need a period to build up to that. So the more you do it, the easier it is to answer that question. The quicker you'll have the answer to that question. Just stay in there. Do those exercises day in and day out. The next question you need to ask yourself is, what do I want to happen in this situation? So when you're arguing back and forth with yourself or with that imaginary person, what's the anticipated outcome? What is the desired outcome? In a perfect world, what do you want to happen? Don't say, well, this is what I think can happen, or this is only possible. Don't even consider that. I spoke to someone about this recently, and she was like, well, realistically, this is what's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. And then they stopped at that. You're going to set yourself up for a very unhappy life if you continue with possibilities that you only think are available, because you're settling without even giving yourself the opportunity to give yourself what you want. So don't consider what's possible. Don't consider what their response will be. Don't consider any of that in this moment. Just say, in this moment, what do I want to happen? Okay. So the 3 questions or 2 questions: why am I responding the way I am? What is this really about? What do I want to happen in this situation? The next thing is action. What that person in the motivational video recommended was going directly to that person and really settling it like that. And that's easier said and done than done, 1. And 2, that's not taking into account the background of that person. You need to consider, what do you want to happen, 1, and what is the background and what has been my experience with this person? So we're going to tackle the first thing first. What do I want to happen? So I found that making many thoughtful, small decisions equal a life I'm happy to live. So that means by saying, what do I want to happen? And then starting to move in that direction and starting to say, how can I make that happen? Whether it's a small thing or a big thing, means that if I'm doing that in all areas of my life at all time, then my life transforms into something that I'm really, really happy with. So knowing what you want to happen, beginning to act in that manner, helps to stop those arguments as well. You have fewer of them. If you decide that you need to address this person directly, though, if this is with another person, this argument in your head, then you need to consider their character and play the previous interactions of that person back. For instance, if I'm arguing with my boss in my head and I know my boss is hostile or hasn't listened any other time I've voiced a concern, then maybe I make a different decision, or maybe I have a different conversation. It does not always lead to having a conversation. That does not equal resolution all the time. So I'm going to give you a few examples to help you along. Example 1, this person has a history of actively listening to my concerns and responding positively to them. This is your normal everyday interaction. You know this person is good. You know if you voice your concerns, they will hear you. Your only issue is, how do I voice this concern? Okay, so here's what we do in this situation. Again, using the example of having an argument with my boss. So the first thing you do is you sit with your feelings. What made you feel angry or hurt about the situation? I find that writing it down is easiest, but saying it aloud in an empty room or an empty car is also like perfect, because you can get out all those words, all those frustrations in their raw form. You don't have to dress them up. You don't have to make them sound nice and comfortable. You just get it out. And when you do that, it helps when you have to approach that person. Now I can frame it in a nicer way because I've taken the time to hear myself out. I've heard the raw, ugly form of it and it's gotten out. So now I can say the softer, but direct version of what I'm saying. So once you discover what the issue is, ask yourself, what do you want to happen right now? So this is important because in this case, I've decided that I want the relationship with my boss and I to continue. Relationship being work relationship. I'm not going to leave my job. This is not an issue that needs to be escalated. This is a simple conversation with someone I know will more than likely listen to my concern and respond positively to them. Even if it's in a way that the solution is not exactly what I want, I know that they will respond in a way that's favorable to me. Okay. So I have decided I want the relationship to continue. Now I need to decide, how and when is the best time to communicate and initiate this conversation. That's important. Okay. Sometimes you'll find that that person will actually initiate the conversation for you. I've had that happen many times. And this exercise is still beneficial because I found that when I'm doing this exercise first, the minute I start to see this is a reoccurring problem, I'm having arguments in my head, my automatic reaction is to take inventory and do the previous steps that I said for you to do. And then I'll go, I already know what I want to say to this person. And if they approach me first, then I am more ready to have a more productive conversation with them, a better conversation with them that leads to better results, I find. So when you're in an abusive situation and you're someone who doesn't know how to communicate your thoughts, you haven't had the practice yet, this is really, really helpful so that you can communicate a clear solution and then you can mutually come to a solution that works for both of you. And that truly works for both of you, not is one that you're just agreeing to because it's convenient and you don't want to cause problems. Okay. So that's scenario one. Scenario two is, what if the person has a history of not responding positively to your concerns? So using the same example, argument in your head with your boss. You do the same thing to start. You sit with it. What made you feel angry? What made you hurt about the situation? Write it down, say it aloud, however you can get it out so that you understand what the frustration is. You do that. But there's another layer to this I found. Oftentimes what you'll discover if this person is hostile to you or not good to you is that you're reluctant to speak to them about the issue that you're having because of the history that you have of them not hearing your concerns, not responding positively to them. So in this example, your boss has a history of gossiping to others about your concern or making promises of change but never acting on what they say they will do. That was huge in my life. I have often found that after leaving my abusive situation and moving out and doing those things, I knew that the abuse is something I didn't want to continue. So I looked for clearly abusive behavior, but I found that the other part of that was people who were being nice to me when I gave them a problem that I had, but they weren't actually solving the problem. They were just nicely half listening. And when I discovered that, I realized, okay, now I do need to make a decision on those people as well, just as if they were abusive. Because if someone's seemingly nice to you when you present something that's bothering you to them, but they say that they're going to change something, or they never make any positive changes towards you, that's just as bad, right? So in this scenario, you're dealing with a person who does one or the other. And you also may discover that you're not only angry about the situation that occurred, which is valid, but you're also concerned because the concerns that you've raised previously were never addressed. So now your issue has compounded. And that's understandable to be reluctant to communicate to someone who hasn't listened to you before. That makes sense to not want to keep doing that pattern over and over and over again. So in this case, you need to say, what do I want to happen now? So in my scenario, maybe I decided to discuss this with my boss anyway, but I would need to determine, what do I want the outcome of this conversation to be if I decide to do that? Maybe I decide that this issue can't be resolved and isn't worth saving the work relationship for. What are my options for changing jobs? If it's personal, what are your options for leaving the relationship? How would you like this to be terminated? Maybe it's conversation and, hey, I feel that you don't listen to my concerns. So unfortunately, if you continue down this pathway, I'm going to have to terminate this relationship and then do it. Maybe it's one of those decisions. Maybe are there other options that I haven't considered? Maybe there's some other things that I haven't talked about that you can do. Really evaluate all those options and evaluate what works for you. What is the ideal situation that you would like to occur? So, in doing all of that, do you see how much we uncovered by simply listening to yourself? That's what this exercise is teaching you, to listen to yourself. And you could see that you uncovered more than just, I'm angry about the situation. You uncovered that you're angry or concerned or upset or whatever about a multitude of different things, and that all ties into your response that's seemingly big to a seemingly small situation, right? And you're addressing your own needs instead of shutting them down, so that yes, this conflict occurred, but now there could be resolution, so that that argument can now stop in your head because your need has been met. So if you shut down the initial thought and you said, this is toxic, this argument in my head, I can't do this, I'm not supposed to do this, I'm supposed to be positive, I'm supposed to think great thoughts, you would have missed the opportunity to understand what your needs were and missed the opportunity to accurately communicate them in a good manner, in a clear, calm, communicative manner. And you would have risked acting in a way that you didn't want and further frustrating the issue. I found that when you don't address the issues that you're having, so if you ignore that imaginary argument in your head, it builds up. You express it one way or the other. So you could either shut all the way down, or you just lash out and you say some nasty things that prevent you from being heard in the first place. So really, you really need to do this exercise. You really need to take inventory of yourself and really need to listen to your needs so that you can communicate with other people better and have your needs be met, which is important, right? So arguments in your head aren't bad, y'all. Your emotions aren't bad. They're simply emotions. They're here to help you understand something is wrong. Something has happened that is wrong, or is good, or is bad. Emotions are emotions. They are not good or bad. They're offering you a chance to resolve the issue and to get a need met that you previously haven't gotten met. So by listening to these feelings, you'll uncover why you're upset and what will resolve the situation for you, not just playing nice in the moment, what will actually resolve the situation for you. And it just makes for a better life overall. Okay? So by asking yourself, what do you want to happen in these situations? You create a life that you love because you took the time to understand what's important to you. So what I want you to do is to ask yourself a few questions. If you notice that you have this habit, or you notice, hey, this is an area in my life that I'm really lacking and I'm not really getting my needs met. I'm not really happy with how my life is turning out right now. Ask yourself, why are you responding the way you are? What is this feeling really about? What is this? And what do you want to really happen? In an ideal world, what do you want to happen as a response to this need? So today, I really hope you guys take the time to start inventorying your emotions, inventory the imaginary arguments that are going on in your head. I have this all written out in the post that I will link below. That way you can go over it anytime, anywhere, and start to journal those issues. I would really love to hear your responses to this. Go ahead and post them in the comments. If you're uncomfortable doing that, you can email me. I will link my contact page. That way you can email me privately. I would really, really love to hear what you think about this and how it has helped you. Thank you so much for listening today. Again, I have a blog post to walk you through all of this. I will link this down in the description for you. But I do want to tell you about one more thing that is coming up. Our membership is closing on February 13th. It will reopen March 13th. So go ahead and grab your spot. We have a new class each and every month. This month's class is how to create a blog with clarity to increase traffic faster. Part of that is doing the self work that we talked about today, but also tackling limiting beliefs, staying motivated, finding your audience, setting up your blog, the physical steps to do that, increasing traffic, and coming up with a ton of ideas so that you can sell consistently without gimmick. So if that sounds interesting to you, I will link the blog below. Again, it closes February 13th. We have new classes each and every month. You'll receive discount on physical products. You'll have access to previous courses. Included will be some worksheets, templates, videos, and private community access. So again, it ends February 13th. I will link the class link below. Thank you guys for listening today. I am so happy you decided to listen. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.